Well, kia ora and welcome into the Harness Half Hour, proudly brought to you by HRNZ Marketing. I'm Jess Smith, and this is a special episode focusing on Team Teal this week. I'll talk to the founder of Team Teal, Duncan McPherson, who recently attended the Teal Day at the Hororata Trotting Club meeting. Also Karen Livingstone of Ansgog, who will talk about what the funds raised by Team Teal will achieve. And former Black Fern and Sky presenter Melodie Robinson joins me to talk about the upcoming celebrity race for Team Teal and why the cause is so close to her heart. And don't forget, you can find out about Team Teal events near you by checking out the HRNZ website and also find a link to donate to the cause there also. Well, the Harness Half Hour today is on course, and I'm chatting with Duncan McPherson, of course, founder of Team Teal. And great to see the weather's turned it on again. Duncan, what do you make of this grass track racing?
If we could paint the grass teal instead of green, we'd be getting even better. But no, look, it's great to be here, and came last year, and the buy-in and to see as much teal around the track today. Obviously, everybody in New Zealand's getting behind it, and it's great that Hororata and Methven invite us across, and it's an absolute delight to be here and support the cause.
And so many people now are aware of Team Teal, but many may not know the backstory. Would you mind sharing with us the story of how this tragically came about, Duncan?
Yeah, sure. Look, there's always good comes out of bad, and regretfully my wife passed away on the 8th of March 2010 after a 15-month battle with ovarian cancer. She was diagnosed on New Year's Eve in 2008. So myself and my 3 kids and my wife decided we needed to do something about raising awareness, and my wife was a research nurse, or had been a nurse. And it all tied in nicely and with as good as it could be. And we decided while Lynn was alive that she'd like to do something, so she started some lunches and raising a bit of awareness, and her legacy is now that it's nationwide in Australia and New Zealand, and we've been approached by 4 countries in the European Trotting Union to try and spread Team Teal globally. And if there's one thing I'd like to do is I never say no, and there's no bar too high. But to improve the outcome of women's health, and we've also got to realise that 2 out of 3 women diagnosed die, and 1 woman in Australasia is dying every 8 hours. So doesn't pick on age. We've got 21-year-old women in Queensland to 75-year-old women in Victoria. So it's an insidious disease, and it takes no prisoners. And regretfully, there's no diagnosis. And what we're doing with the research nurses and raising awareness and raising funds for them is to support the oncologists and the programs that are in place. And look, Australia's the leader in the oncology area for ovarian cancer research, and we're doing a fantastic job, and our industry should take a bow, and so should all the participants. We're really doing really well.
I guess the key is, as you say, is that there are no obvious signs of it. So just getting people to think about, go and get yourself checked if things just aren't quite right.
Yeah, look, I mean, it's one of those that's back pain, abdominal pain, loss of appetite, tightness in the tummy. There's a few telltale signs, and most women regretfully will say, well, it's part of life, the life cycle. They think that pap smears are going to help them, and that's going to be the cure, or that's part of the diagnosis. That's far from the truth. That's about cervical cancer, not ovarian cancer. So it's a very difficult disease to deal with. There's no one ovarian cancer. It's genetically and chromosomally different in every single woman. So it's a matter of understanding how these wonderful scientists and the money that we raise to support them is going into the programs.
So after you first started this way back in 2010, and now you're here in backcountry New Zealand, seeing so much teal on course, what does that do for you? Do you stop and think about your late wife and how far you've come with it all?
It's not about me. It's about women and improving women's health. The most rewarding part. I'm sure my wife Lynn's upstairs with a big smile on her face, and I know my children are very pleased with the outcomes. But when you travel around and you now are in a situation after a period of time where women come to you and they say, if it wasn't for you and raising awareness, then my friend who's been diagnosed has got a chance, my auntie, and so on. And there are life stories now, both male and female, because the men, whether we like it or not, become the carers for the women. And when you think about the radio and the chemo and the operations and everything else that happens to these unfortunate women who are diagnosed, it's just as important for men to understand what's going on. But to take the point, the mere fact that there are people now coming and saying, if it wasn't for the awareness that you've been raising, then we wouldn't be here today. And I think that's the most rewarding part of the whole thing.
Oh, it's remarkable. And last year, New Zealand alone raised 20,000. We're looking like we're going to smash all kinds of records already. But, I mean, as well as the monetary funds to help research, it really is about awareness too, isn't it?
Yeah, and I think the girls in their teal pants, I mean, this is unique. I don't think there's any other sport in the world that can acknowledge that they've got a program of raising awareness by having female participants. And when I say female participants, we've now got junior female out of the pony carts or the mini trots. Those girls who had their teal pants on 6-7 years ago are now proudly wearing their teal pants on the open circuit, and they're graduates. And to have those girls have the buy-in, and then for them to actually take that message as a life message with them for the rest of their lives, and then have the visual impact through pubs and clubs throughout Australasia, I think that's why there's an awareness of it that there wasn't 5 years ago. The greater community have a better understanding, and I think globally we're starting to make some impact, so it's great.
Well, Duncan, it's great to have you here, and I understand you're going to a few more events around the country, so keep up the amazing work.
Thanks very much, and thanks very much for the opportunity, and get real support, Teal.
Well, following on with our Team Teal theme episode of the Harness Half Hour, we're going to chat now with Karen Livingstone, who's kindly joined me on the line to discuss ovarian cancer. Now, Karen is heavily involved with ANZCOG, and Karen, can you just explain a bit more about your role with the association and what that means?
Yeah, sure. So the Australia-New Zealand Gynecological Oncology Group, shortened to ANZCOG, is actually the organisation that does clinical research into gynecological cancers, including ovarian cancer. So the Women's Cancer Foundation and Team Teal actually fundraise for ANZCOG. I have had the long association with ANZCOG. Was a board member of the organisation for a decade. I actually came off the board and started working for the organisation to actually seek funding so that we can actually really make an impact with our research.
And that funding, as you mentioned, Karen, is so essential. Can you explain just how much the money that Team Teal is raising, how much that means towards the association and potentially finding some kind of cure?
Yeah, so it's not. We actually just don't talk cure because that is something that is really complicated. Mm-hmm. What we try to do is to improve life for women through clinical research. So our treatments, what we're trying to do is to actually look at each woman's individual case and actually find a treatment that would actually suit that individual woman. What happens at the moment is the treatments are very much one size fits all, and what ANZCOG are doing with their research is actually trying to target better treatment so that we can extend life and improve quality of life. And they're two really big issues that actually happen with regards to women when they're diagnosed with ovarian cancer. The rates are, there's about 190 women die every year in New Zealand. I know the survival rates sit at about 39% in New Zealand to 5 years. When you look at that from a comparison of breast cancer, which is 91%, and that's been achieved because there's been a lot of money that's been raised for breast cancer research. So we want to also have equal opportunity to improve our treatments by raising money so that we can actually do this clinical research and target these treatments to extend life.
And I would imagine, Karen, that last year, Team Teal in its first year, New Zealand alone raised $20,000. I know the team over in Australia have done remarkable things, and we're going great guns at this early stage of Team Teal, but I imagine every cent counts because treating patients wouldn't be a cheap exercise.
Yeah, look, it does. I think that the thing that that Team Teal actually contributes to is that it's actually helping with nurses to support the women in the hospitals, and that is so critically important because, as you can imagine, when you're diagnosed with ovarian cancer, and I personally have lost my mum and her sister to the disease, and when you're personally diagnosed, it's very overwhelming, and you can imagine when you go through treatment, you know, there are lots of side effects that happen happen from the treatment. So your clinical nurse is actually, she's your rock during this period of time. So Team Teal actually helps support that, as well as a program which is called Survivors Teaching Students, which we're hoping to get into New Zealand very soon this year, later this year. And that's actually what we know with ovarian cancer, Jess, is that it's usually diagnosed, or 90% of the time, it's actually diagnosed late, not early, because there's nothing that actually a woman can feel and say, oh, that must be my ovaries, I need to go to the doctor. It actually mimics quite similar or the everyday conditions. So I'll give you the 4 top symptoms. I think that's really important for your listeners. Increased abdominal size or persistent abdominal bloating. Now, as women, we all experience that. Abdominal or pelvic pain, feeling full after eating only a very small amount, or needing to urinate often or urgently. Now, these are very, very common symptoms that we all have, but what we're saying is if it's unusual for you to have any of these conditions, and they aren't going away and they're increasing in severity, then we suggest women actually go to their doctors and actually say, could this be my ovaries? One of the other things that's really important to understand is that breast and ovarian cancer is genetically the same disease. So there may be breast and cases of breast cancer and ovarian cancer that's actually running through the family, particularly if a woman is diagnosed at an early age, say 30 or 40, 50 years old. Not so much. It's more common for women of an older age to be diagnosed. But if they're being diagnosed early, then that could actually indicate that there's a family instance. So GPs need to know that, because that's a vital clue if a woman's presenting with these symptoms. And so what we want is we want women to talk to their GPs, let them know what's in the family in terms of ovarian cancer.
And I guess women, typically we are the people that are the caregivers, or we look out for other people. So for our husbands or our families, we would be more forceful in terms of sending them to get checked. So is this more a message of, hey, look after yourself and just get it sorted out?
Look, there's no early detection test for ovarian cancer, so that's why women need to be aware of the symptoms. My experience with the harness racing community is the woman often is definitely the rock in the family, and is very good at looking after men in the family, and it's, I think it's for all women. We kind of don't look after ourselves as well as we should, because we're trying to look after everyone else in the family. So the message is that you need to actually put the oxygen mask on you first, and then you can help other people. As they say when you're flying on an airline, they say make sure that you fit your mask first, and then you can help others, your children. So it's really important that you actually do look after your own health, and that is really, really important.
Karen, thank you so very much for taking the time to talk to us about this today, and hopefully this can encourage people, if they're just not feeling quite 100%, to be better safe than sorry and get checked out. And if anyone's wanting to find out more about ovarian cancer or your group, is there a website or somewhere that they can look up to find out more?
Yes, there is. So they can go to the Women's Cancer Foundation, and that has all the information that they need. And we also have a Women's Cancer Foundation Facebook page, and we certainly are supporting the Team Teal campaign through the Women's Cancer Foundation on Facebook. Just before I go, can I also call out to the men of harness racing? Because I know that when I spoke to the board members of Harness Racing New Zealand, what really resonated with them was that this has an impact. Not if a woman's diagnosed with ovarian cancer, the impact is family-wide. So a shout out to the men to be aware of the symptoms and ovarian cancer, and to ensure that the women actually, if they're saying they're not feeling well, that they actually pursue it and they actually go see their doctors. Thank you to all of the Harness Racing New Zealand for supporting Team Teal, and we know that it's going to be an amazing campaign for you this year.
And thank you to you and your team, Karen, for the remarkable work that you're doing to help women and this amazing cause. I'm sure Team Teal is going to hammer home a lot more funds to come your way, so keep up the great work.
Absolutely. Thank you so much, Jess.
Well, it's an absolute pleasure to welcome onto the podcast this week Melodie Robinson. Of course, many of us will know her with her deeds with the Black Ferns and, of course, her role on Sky Sports. And Melodie, can you tell us exactly what you're involved with work-wise these days?
Well, I'm on holiday till the end of February, isn't that fantastic? I left Sky at the end of last year, 15 years there, so I decided I needed a bit of a change. So end of Feb, I'll start looking, but I've got a few things booked. I'm going to do a bit of pundit work for Sky, just on the rugby stuff, and then I've got some more broadcasting later in the year that hasn't been announced yet. But I'm just going to be open and look for a bit of commercial or general manager type roles and see what happens.
Oh, fantastic. Well, I can't wait to see what you come up with next, Melodie, because I understand you're really involved too with working with women and broadcasting and supporting their careers.
Yes, that's a group called the Wonderful Group. We've set up mentoring programs last year and some really fantastic networking nights as well. So this year we're going to go ahead and see if we can get some funding to support hopefully the government's visibility strategy that they've got for women and girls in sport. So I'm pretty excited to see where that heads.
Oh, most certainly. It's a wonderful organisation. And you've also kindly volunteered, Melodie, to be a part of our Team Teal night at Alexandra Park in a celebrity race. Have you done anything like that before?
Oh my goodness. It's going to be crazy. I really don't know what the experience is going to feel like, but I'm pretty excited. Obviously, I've watched quite a bit of racing and stuff through my years with growing up in Christchurch, and then I live in Ellerslie, so head down to both race courses quite a bit because they're always a fun night, so I'm looking forward to it.
There might be a bit of trash talking too there because you've got the likes of Frank Bunce and Dom Harvey and, some Brooke Howard-Smith as well, so there might be some dirty talk out there.
Well, I know Frank Bunce very well. We've done a lot of work together in the past, so I might bring up a few old memories and throw those at him. And Brooke is fantastic as well. So, I'll keep this legend.
Oh, I cannot wait to see that. And on a more serious note, Melodie, when we asked you to come on board, you leaped at the chance because this is a cause very close to your heart.
Yeah, that's right. My mum had cancer, and it was cancer of the uterus, actually. I was there when she got her womb operated and taken out, obviously, and I remember the pain that she was in. But she was so hopeful that, they'd got all of the cancer, but they hadn't, and it was a journey of about 6 years. She was religious and had a lot of faith, so she was always pretty positive, but the last sort of 6 months of that 6-year journey was terrible to watch with the pain that she was going through, and then obviously the experience in hospice. So, she did quite a bit of research while she was ill and was pretty passionate about women getting checked up and, healthy lifestyle and that. So, yes, it is certainly something that's pretty dear to me.
Yes, and has your mother's journey impacted the way, Melodie, that you view your own health?
Yeah, yes, I would say so for sure. Like getting checks, whether it's for breast cancer or smears, I'm very regular with that stuff. Even though it's not a nice experience to go through, anyone that's had a memory, a Graham will know. And also just she was a big one for eating lots of plants and just being very holistically healthy. So yes, I always have that in mind. I'm trying to get better there. It's always a yo-yo for me. And then I think that the latest thing for me is being moderate with my wine drinking. I love wine, but I know how bad that is in terms of increasing your chances of cancer too. So yes, she certainly has had an impact. It's like she's giving me the finger down from heaven above if I ever do eat unhealthy or drink too much.
Well, it's good to have that conscience lingering around you and keeping you on the path. And, of course, with your involvement with the celebrity race, it's going to be on Team Teal night, where we're raising funds for ovarian cancer and research around that. Do you encourage other women, Melodie, to be aware of their health and be proactive about being checked?
Yes, I do, and we have conversations about those topics a lot, especially because a lot of my friends now are sort of mid-40s, so it's just at that time in your life where you are becoming way more aware of it. And it's nice to be involved in a cause like that as well. So, I mean, it's not exactly hard turning up and getting on the back of, one of the buggies to be driven around and help raise funds. So it's really my pleasure to be there.
Well, it's happening on March the 1st at Alexandra Park, and you have the opportunity to be in the same room as Melodie and the other celebrity guests, and $5 from each ticket will be donated directly to Team Teal, so you can book via alexandrapark.co.nz. Melodie, once again, thank you not only for your time, because I know you're a very busy lady, well, you're on holiday, so that's busy enough, but thank you so much.
I managed to fill my time anyway.
Well, I'm sure that you're going to have a successful night, and the women in that race, I hope that they get the victory over the boys. But thank you so much for your time.
No worries at all.
And of course, at this stage of the podcast, we check out what racing action is coming up this week. Thursday night, we've got Forbury Park, their late summer meeting at Forbury on Thursday. Friday night, a double header with Alexandra Park and Addington both on. Sunday, Waikawaiti will be held at Oamaru. It's day one of their two-day meeting. And of course, the second day for the Waikawaiti Club at Oamaru is on Tuesday. And that's it for this week's Harness Half Hour. Thanks to HRNZ Marketing. Don't forget you can find out about Team Teal events near you by checking out the HRNZ website, and also find a link there to donate to the cause. And also don't forget the Harness Half Hour podcast is now available on the Punters Lounge, which is on tab.co.nz, also on Spotify and iTunes.